we are entering into another topic in the chapter of source of business finance. And in this, again, we are talking about one of the source of owners fund, ownership fund, and that is about equity shares. But before understanding about equity shares, you must understand about what share is. Share is unit of capital. That means the total capital which is required for company is being broken down into small units, and it have a price where each shareholder is paying for it, and thus he becomes shareholder. So share is the unit of capital of a company which is issued to the general public for purchasing, and each share has a nominal value, say 10 rupees or 100 rupees or 1000 rupees. Each share will be having a value, and the capital obtained through ratio of shares is called share capital. The capital which we are raising through shares is called as share capital. There are other sources also for raising capital, but when we are issuing shares, it is called share capital, and the person who is holding a share is called as a shareholder. So a company will be having number of shareholders, and each share will be having a nominal value. Each person will pay for it, and when that person is becoming shareholder, automatically he is contributing to the capital of the company. That is why it is called a unit of capital. Now shares are basically of two types. It is equity share and preference share. Equity shares and preference share. Those are the two important types of shares. Again, there are subdivisions, but as according to our syllabus, we need not go detailed into it. So we have to understand that it is shares are of two types, that is equity share and preference share. And we are going to study about equity share in this session. Now, what is equity share? Equity shares are those shares which represents the ownership of the company, and it is considered as one of the important source of raising long-term finance. When we are in need of money for a longer period, it is one of the most sought sources. So it represents the ownership of the company. That means equity shares, when a person is purchasing equity share, he is becoming the owner of the company. And here the specialty is that there is a return, and that return is called as dividend. Return for shares is called as dividend. So here it is not a fixed dividend, but on the basis of earnings. If earning is more dividend will come. If earning is less dividend will be there. So it is not a fixed percentage of dividend, it is not fixed amount of dividend, it is based on earnings. According to rise and fall in earnings, there can be changes in dividend of equity shares. And one more thing you have to understand is that it is not very compulsory that we have to pay for the equity shareholders. They are to be paid at last only. Even when something is to be paid, they will be settled only after all the claims of the organizer company is settled. That equity shares will receive the last in the line of payment, and that is why they are called as residual owners. They are called as residual owners because they receive only what is left after settlement of all claims of the company. That is why they are called as residual owners. And as I said, they are considered owners. They have a right to vote. Those who are purchasing equity shares will be having right to vote for selecting the directors of the company. They have right to vote for the directors, board of directors. They have right to select the board of directors, right to vote for board of directors, and in that way they are participating in management. So this is speciality. These three are the speciality. It is representing the ownership, they have the right to vote, they participate in management. Those are the special features of equity shareholders, and equity shares are those shares which represent the ownership of the company. That is why this is considered as ownership capital. Now, what are the merits? If you are looking at the merits of equity shares, one of the major merit is that if shareholders, if the investors are ready to take risk, they may get high return, because as I have said, for equity shares it is not very compulsory that payment will be received. Only when there is something more they will receive, because after settling all the other claims they are receiving. That means after settling of all the claims, whatever is remaining, if it is more, means more return will be there. If it is less, means that's a risk. But here we are talking about they may get high returns if they are ready to take a high risk. So that's a benefit. Whatever is remaining, it will be for them. Second one is no burden on the company, because it is not compulsory regarding payment. Only if there is earnings remaining to pay for the shareholders, they need to pay. It is not compulsory that every time they have to pay. Only when they are having enough earnings, the dividend is to be paid. So it is not a burden. It is not a burden for the company. It is not a burden for the company. Third one is it provides cushion for creditors, because creditors are sure that they will receive the payment, because even only after paying to all those claims, the settlement of equity shares happen. So whatever is remaining, initially they will get. So they are at a comfortable position when compared to equity shareholders, because they will receive payment. When a company is winding up, creditors will receive much before equity shareholders, because equity shareholders will receive only if when there is something remaining. So it's a cushion, it's a comfortable position for creditors. Fourth one is it provides creditworthiness to company, because a lot of persons have invested. Lot of persons have put their confidence in company. It adds on to creditworthiness, because company is having that much of capital, and the merit is that based on this creditworthiness, the loan providers, the banks or other financial institution will have confidence to give loans for the company. Looking at the equity shareholders, it is adding on to creditworthiness, and loan providers will feel better to provide them with the loan. Fifth one is no charge created on any assets. No assets is given as a collateral security for loans or any kind of financial fundraising from financial institutions. No charge is created for any of the assets on purchase of equity shares. While purchasing equity shares, company is not giving equity shareholders any guarantee that if company is not paying, you can have charge on that particular. No such kind of collateral security for equity shares are there. Nothing is charged for protection of equity shareholders. If company have earning, they will receive. If company doesn't have earning, they will not receive. They have nothing to do with assets. So those assets can be used for further pledging or mortgaging. So no charge is created on any assets in case of equity shares. And last one is democratic control. As I have said, the board of directors who are looking after the management of company is being selected from within the shareholders by voting. So there is a democratic control. Of course, there is limitations too. First one itself is no steady income, because based on earnings it can change, it can be high, it can be low, it goes on fluctuating. So we cannot expect a steady income from equity shares. So that is one of the major limitation. There is no steady income. We cannot guarantee steady income, or shareholders cannot have any guarantee on income which is steady. According to the change in earnings, there can be fluctuations. Second one is cost of raising fund is more. That means the dividend which is paid can be more compared to other sources. We may have to pay high returns to the shareholders. That is what is called cost of funds. The cost, the amount we are paying in return for the amount they are investing is comparatively more when we compare equity shares with other sources. Third one is issue of additional shares dilute power and earnings of existing shareholders, because there is a provision where company can issue additional shares. So when additional shares are being issued, automatically the existing shareholders, with the existing shareholders, these persons who are purchasing the additional shares are also getting ownership. So automatically the power of existing shareholders reduce because more number of people comes. So power is being scattered with a more number of people. Along with that, earnings will also come down, because first time if it was 100 shareholders, the total profit has to be shared with the 100 shareholders. But when 50 more shareholders are coming, the profit has to be shared with the 150 shareholders. That means the earning also will come down. The part of earning, share of earning will come down. Dividend will come down. Last one is more formalities and procedural delay. Raising of funds through equity shares have to undergo lot of formalities, and a procedure can create lot of troubles. It takes time to raise funds or finance through this source. So these are the meaning, merits and demerits of equity shares.